The 68 seniors.
Yeah.
You know, they had, that was you guys.
Yeah.
You didn't win on the JV.
No.
They didn't win anything. What are we going to do?
Right.
You know, we're no good. And then we invented the 6-2.
Oh, yeah.
Practice 6 defense.
Yeah.
Nobody played. I mean, you guys got mad after a while when they got to the line of scrimmage.
Did you go to the 50 years of Frankenmuth football?
Yeah. Yep.
I had plane tickets, and to be flying, but Katrina knocked out the airport.
Oh, yeah.
They were using the New Orleans airport for triage. All of the concourses were like medevacs. And they had medevac helicopters. Only the National Guard and the military and emergency responders could use those, so there were no flights in or out. I was really disappointed that I didn't make it. I didn't make it.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. It was.
Frankenmuth High School's varsity football team recorded back-to-back 9-0 records in 1968 and 69 to capture the state's Class C championship both seasons from the Associated Press.
We started the summer before the season began with an outing. We all got together, did some camping, did some hiking. That brought us all together. We had great camaraderie on the team.
The Eagles, under head coach Bud Tompkins and defensive coordinator Jim Weber, turned in a 7-0 record to win the Thumb B Conference in 1968.
When we were 8th graders, they were undefeated. When we were freshmen, they were undefeated. When we were sophomores, they lost one game, and then we won as juniors and seniors. So during a 5-year period there, we lost one ball game. It was the varsity team, so there was a lot of tradition, and like Frank said before, we just didn't want to break that tradition.
When we played in those 2 years, we weren't really good.
A writer from Bay City in the pre-season announcements stuff had us being 0-9. Had it in the Bay City Times or whatever the rag was at that time, and that was on our locker room wall. And at the end of the year, when we won that last game,
One of our seniors, Chris Ferguson, took that article to the Bay City writer and made him eat it.
and he ate it.
Frankenmuth finished 9-0 and outscored its opponents 194-19, hosting 7 shutouts along the way. Muth topped Michigan Lutheran Seminary 13-0, Cass City 28-0, Laker High 9-0, Caro 12-0, Bad Axe 29-0, Sandusky 54-0, Vassar 15-6, and Marlette 20-0 before nipping Otisville Lakeville 14-13 in the season finale. For the season, Frankenmuth had 114 first downs while allowing just 43. The stellar defense intercepted 13 passes, recovered 10 fumbles, recorded 3 safeties, and tallied 6 touchdowns. Offensively, Dale Weiss led a balanced effort with 39 points, while Ralph Munger had 26, Dave Trinklein 22, Chip Weiss 21, and Rick List 20. Dave Trinklein earned all-state first-team honors, and Lauren Rustern was an honorable mention selection.
The 68 team was defensive oriented and the 69 team was offensive. It was 2 different, totally different teams.
The Eagles were the Saginaw News area champions both seasons.
Yeah, I think we're all fortunate from that era. We didn't know what we had, until we look back on it and see it.
For the Frankenmuth football teams are coaches Bud Tompkins and Jim Weber.
Thank you all for coming, and I would like to thank the Saginaw group for honoring this team, and we call them our boys. And we're very proud to be here, and I'm proud of all the kids who showed up. They're not kids anymore. I had, after many years of coaching, lots of different stories about the boys, but I have one particular story that doesn't pertain to a varsity team that of 30-some years of coaching. The story, I think, touches people involved in sport, and especially coaches. It is my favorite story dealing with football. And it goes back to the time when this group of men who are here tonight with us, they graduated, they finished their careers in high school, and one amongst them, Ralph Munger, was to become one of the very finest coaches in the state of Michigan. And he got his start at Arthur Hill, and then he came to Frankenmuth, thank goodness, that he came out there in his junior year. But that entire group had, 18-0 season, a great impact on Frankenmuth. And there were a lot of stories dealing with those boys in football. But by the time I made a promise to myself as a coach, after many years, we were 40-some years old, and the doctor, Butman, tells my wife that she's pregnant. Well, that was good news. We had a son, and I told myself, when my son gets to be about in the kindergarten or first grade, I'm going to quit varsity coaching, turn that over to Coach Munger, who was ready to fly, and I'm going to coach the freshmen. So the story I want to tell you is about a freshman football player, and as a coach and as a parent, you can really appreciate this story. Well, Coach Munger had the junior high physical education program, and he was a great recruiter because he's got the varsity football the next year, and I am the 9th grade football coach. We switched positions. So now I'm coaching the 9th grade. He has every boy in the 8th grade signing up for football. We have 50 young boys on the 9th grade football. That's a lot of young kids on the 9th grade football team. And I promised myself every one of them is going to have a dirty uniform at every game. They're all going, now how do you play 50 kids in a football game and still you try to win? But by this time in our careers, Coach Weber was with me, and we did this thing with all of these boys. The first day of practice, line them all up, and I eyeballed them, and like, okay, there's a lineman, and there's this and that, and described the positions to them. And wide receivers, 100-pounders out there, 200-pounders in the middle of the line, and then we had to substitute them in some way. So we had a green line, a gray line, a white line, a blue line, and they subbed themselves. 3 plays and they'd go in, the other ones would come out. And on defense, we'd get all those kids in that way. And then when we were on offense, we had a split end, a tight end, and a flanker. We had about 6 of that group, and they would substitute themselves. Didn't have to worry about it. They'd watch 3 plays and they'd go in and they'd come out. Well, by the way, Coach Weber kept track of this, and we still won half our games, which is pretty good considering we were playing 45, 50 kids a game. And this one particular, this is the story now. I'm sitting in the guidance office, and I hear this horrible scream in the hall. And I get up and I go out into the hall, and here comes one of my little football players, weighed about 95 pounds. He's one of our defensive linemen. And this is the truth. He's got jet black hair. He's screaming. Blood is running off his face. He fell off the bleachers right in his mouth, knocked his teeth out. Coach Pelzer, who was inducted recently into your Hall of Fame here, Coach Pelzer had his teeth in a nice, clean napkin, and the kid already like this, and he's screaming. I think he's in pain. And I tell him, John, you know, you're okay. We got to get to the dentist. With the dental office is just down the street a little ways. But he's screaming, he won't go to the dentist. He won't leave the school. Because if he leaves the school, if you're not in school, you can't play football. Okay. So I tell him, this is school business, so we'll take care of it. You'll get to play. So he goes to the dentist, and then about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, getting ready for the freshman game, he comes in. By this time, his lip is like he got stung by a wasp or something. And he looks a sight, and the game hadn't even started yet. So, okay, we played the game, and I don't remember if we won or lost. We won half of those games, but every kid had a dirty uniform. And this little guy was one of the down defensive linemen. His job was to stay low and grab legs and make a pile. That was his job. And he did that very well. I think we were playing Hemlock, and he got stepped on a few times because they like to run right up the middle. So now here's the story. After the game, all the coaches, there were about 6 or 7 of us, and we're sitting in our little coaching office. We got windows looking at the locker room. We got the door open, and the boys are changing and leaving. And they're all going, they don't see this kid go by. And pretty soon, he's still got his football pants on. He's carrying his shoes and his helmet and his shoulder pads. He's got an ice pack on his hand. He's still got mud and grass in his hair. His face is like this. And he's got all, and he's walking. And he looked in the doorway at all of us sitting there. He smiled and he says, "Thanks, Coach." That was it. "Thanks, Coach." Now, what did we do to deserve that? That's the greatest story of all we do as our coach. And folks, this is Jim Weber, my great assistant coach for years.
I want to thank someone who hasn't been thanked tonight. I want to thank the team. They gave us 2 fantastic years. And then I have a one-liner to end it. Heard this one just tonight. Only can happen in America. I played 1.5 minutes the whole season, and now I'm in the Hall of Fame.
I'm going to introduce team members. And those in attendance, please come forward. And Chief, we'll make sure you get your lapel pin. Gentlemen that were on both teams, alphabetically: Tom Ornhammer, Frank Bender, Lynn Bierlein, Dale Councilman, Tom Engel, Rod Franklin, Kirby Goodwin, Paul Herzog, Kim Keeler, Rick List, John McElgan, Greg McInerney, Ralph Munger, Mark Olgard, Tom Rodimer, Kent Rummel, Chuck Rustum, Tom Weber, Chip Weiss, Dale Weiss, and team manager Caro Mufeld. Others on that 68 team: Dave Arnhammer, Bob Pellett, Dave Dietzel, Chris Ferguson, Neil Franklin, Kerry Goodwin, Neil Herzog, Edgar Keena, Harold Little, Pat Lovelace, Dale Mufeld, Chris Nectarline, Gary Palmruder, Rick Preston, Mike Wright, Lauren Rustum, Mark Schiefer, Dave Trinklein, Robert Warnick, Dave Voorhees, and Tom Yoba. And then gentlemen that were on that 69 team. Tom Abenati, Larry Bernthal, Scott Counts, George Dahlman, Bob Galster, Keith Granger, Chris Keller, Mike Kern, Paul List, Dan Mauer, Ron Mauer, John Nectarline, Chris Rao, Chuck Sanders, Gary Schiefer, Steve Schrems, Brad Sarek, Dan Vitani, Dennis Wyrow, Bruce Weiss, Steve Weiss, Dave Wilkinson, Dave Zender, John Zender, and Assistant Manager Gene Kern.
Two stats in court. Yeah. Don't let no one.
Jackson Tree, ball carrier. Glad he's done.
That's exactly right. He's a cloud. Bobby fell up here. Okay, you're right. I'm sorry.
Here, Teddy, get my best side.
Long ways down there.
It's a long ways down.
Election second. He's going with somebody else.
Assistant and great coach for the Eagles, Jim Weber. And in attendance tonight are Dale Weiss, Gary Teddy Palmrider, Tom Auernhammer, Frank Bender, Dave Diesel, Harold Little, Chris Trinklein, Chris Ferguson, Lynn Beerline, Mike Wright, Paul Trinklein, Mark Schiefer, Bob Pellet, Rick List, Lauren Rustow, Chuck Rustin, Tom Weber, Ed Loveless, Dave Voorhees, Dave Auernhammer, and in memory of teammates Bob Ornick and John McElgin, passed earlier. You see some of these fellas can still fit their jersey. Good job, guys. That state championship run, and they won it again in '69, so some of these guys racked up 2 state championships. Thank you, fellas. Hope you enjoyed the game.
Go play on Spectrum. My son will remind you of that all the time. What did I tell him? We did it easy. State champ.
Incidentally, Chris Ferguson came here from Seattle. Thank you.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Like I said, it was fun for us too. All you have to do is get a bunch of guys who want to win, who listen.
Yeah, I think we're all fortunate from that era. We didn't know what we had, until we look back on it and see it.